What if I told you the most brutal muscle car in cinema history wasn't even supposed to survive the first day of filming? That's right, Mad Max's legendary Interceptor, a 1973 Ford Falcon XB GT, was nearly scrapped before a single frame was shot, because the production team couldn't afford insurance on it. This wasn't just a modified sedan. It was a hand-built outlaw machine cobbled together from wrecked police cars powered by an engine Ford never sold in Australia and coated in a paint so toxic it's now banned worldwide. Today we're revealing 20 bizarre, buried and barely believable truths about the car that defined post-apocalyptic cool. The XB Falcon GT wasn't just Australia's answer to the Mustang, it was the last true muscle car down under before emissions laws killed the breed. If you love cinematic metal and automotive rebellion, hit like and subscribe, because this Interceptor's got more scars than Max Rockatansky himself. Number 20. It was built from wrecked police cars. The Interceptor wasn't bought. It was resurrected from the dead. With a budget of just $400,000 AUD for the entire film, director George Miller couldn't afford a new car, let alone a fleet. The production team scoured junkyards across Victoria for crashed Ford Falcon XB sedans, many former highway patrol vehicles. They found 3 totaled ex-police Falcons and cannibalized them for parts. The final Interceptor combined the front clip of one, the roof of another, and the rear quarter panels of a third. Even the suspension came from a decommissioned traffic car. Why police Falcons? They had heavy-duty components, reinforced frames, upgraded cooling, and 15-inch steel wheels, perfect for high-speed desert runs. Authentic Interceptor replicas must use XB sedan bodies, not coupes or utilities. Look for the unique police package, rear leaf springs, and boxed frame rails as authenticity markers. And if you think that's wild, number 19 reveals how many Interceptors were actually destroyed during filming. Number 19. Only 2 were built, and 1 was blown up twice. Despite surviving crashes, chases, and fireballs, only 2 Interceptors ever existed, and 1 met a fiery end, twice. Interceptor 1 was the hero car used for close-ups and dialogue scenes. Interceptor 2 was the stunt car built for destruction. In the film's climax, Interceptor 2 was rigged with explosives and launched off a ramp into a flaming wreck. But the shot failed, so they rebuilt it overnight from spare parts and blew it up again the next day. Both explosions appear in the final cut. Interceptor 1 survived filming and was later sold to a crew member for $1,200. It vanished for 20 years before resurfacing in a Queensland shed in 2003. Today, it's fully restored and valued at over $5,000 AUD. The original hero car has a unique VIN and retains its hand-fabricated exhaust system. Beware of clones using XC or XD Falcons, wrong generation entirely. But it gets weirder. Number 18 exposes the engine myth that fooled fans for decades. Number 18, it never had a 351. Cleveland, it ran a 302. Despite the snarl on screen and the 351 badge on the hood, the Interceptor never packed Ford's big 351 Cleveland V8. The 351 Cleveland was discontinued in Australia by 1973 due to emissions rules. Instead, the Interceptor used a 302 cubic inch Windsor V8 sourced from a US spec Ford Mustang. The engine was smuggled into Australia in a shipping crate labeled farm equipment. It was modified with a high-rise intake Holley carburetor and custom headers to mimic the Cleveland sound. The 351 decal, pure Hollywood, added because it looked more aggressive. Ford Australia never offered the 351 in the XB GT. The largest engine was the 302. Real Interceptor builds use the 302 Windsor with a GT valve cover. Check for US casting numbers on the block. Australian 302s have different codes. The twist? Number 17 reveals how one part was stolen from a museum. Number 17. The supercharger was borrowed, then never returned. That menacing supercharger sticking through the hood? It was on loan, and technically still is. The prop department needed a visual punch for the Interceptor's enhanced look. They borrowed a vintage GMC 671 supercharger from the National Motor Museum in Birdwood, South Australia, under a 30-day loan agreement. But after filming wrapped, the museum's request for its return was ignored. The blower stayed in the hero car for decades. In 2010, the museum quietly dropped the claim, calling it part of cinematic history. The blower was never functional. It was purely cosmetic with no drive belt or internal gears. Authentic replicas use non-functional 671 blowers with polished housings. Functional versions cost $8,000 plus and require engine modifications. And that's not all. Number 16 uncovers the secret reason the doors were welded shut. Number 16. The doors were welded shut for desert safety. Max never opened the Interceptor's doors because they were permanently sealed. During early test runs in the outback, dust storms clogged door mechanisms, trapping actors inside. After a near heat-stroke incident, the crew welded the doors shut and cut entry holes in the roof, covered by the iconic black Targa bar. Actors climbed in through the windows or roof just like in The Dukes of Hazzard. The roll cage installed for stunts also made hinges redundant. This detail became part of the car's mythos, but it was born from brutal necessity. Cutaway, welded door seam under trim. Original screen-used cars show weld marks under the door seals. Replicas that open normally miss a key piece of authenticity. Here's the kicker. Number 15 reveals how Ford Australia refused to help. Number 15. Ford denied all support, then sued over the logo. Ford Australia not only refused to donate cars, they tried to block the film over trademark use. In 1977, Ford was phasing out performance models and feared association with a violent dystopian film. The company denied vehicle requests and sent a cease and desist over the use of the Ford Oval and GT badging. George Miller responded by slightly altering the grille badge, making it a custom Ford script without the oval. The lawsuit was dropped after test screenings showed the film portrayed the car as heroic. Ironically, the XB GT's value skyrocketed after Mad Max, saving many from the crusher. Original Interceptors have hand-painted Ford lettering, not factory badges. Real XB GTs have the oval. Screen cars do not. But there's a twist. Number 14 exposes a design flaw that made the car terrible for chases. Number 14. The rear suspension would collapse at high speed. On screen, it flew across salt flats. In reality, its rear end would fold like cardboard past 100 mm/t. The XB Falcon used a live rear axle with leaf springs. Fine for city driving. Disastrous for desert racing. During filming, the rear suspension bottomed out on bumps, causing dangerous oversteer. The crew reinforced it with aircraft-grade steel rods and added hydraulic dampers from a Holden Commodore. Even then, top speed was limited to 120 mph for safety. The 140 mph claims, camera tricks, and downhill assists. Authentic builds include custom traction bars and reinforced leaf springs. Stock suspensions won't survive aggressive driving. Even more shocking, number 13 reveals how one Interceptor survived a 50-foot cliff drop. Number 13. The hero car survived a 50-foot plunge, then drove home. After a stunt gone wrong, the Interceptor tumbled down a ravine, and Max drove it back to base camp. During a chase scene near Little River, the hero car lost control on loose gravel and rolled 50 feet down a dry creek bed. Miraculously, the unibody held. The engine kept running, and actor Mel Gibson drove it 12 miles back to the production office, leaking oil and missing a headlight. The damage was patched with Bondo and black paint, and the car appeared in the next day's shoot. This near disaster led to the construction of the second Interceptor. The restored hero car still shows micro cracks in the left rear quarter panel from the fall, visible under UV light. And that's when things get weird. Number 12 uncovers the Interceptor's secret twin. Number 12, it shared a body with a family sedan. The Interceptor's silhouette was identical to a car used to haul groceries and school kids. The 1973 Ford Falcon XB was a mainstream family car, Australia's version of the Chevrolet Impala. Under the skin, the GT Fairmont and base Falcon sedan shared the same 113-inch wheelbase roof stampings and floor pans. The GT added a blacked-out grille, rally stripes, and sport suspension, but the doors and trunk were identical. Ford did this to save costs during the oil crisis. Even the interior dash was shared, though the GT got a tachometer. Beware of cloned Interceptors built from Fairmont shells. Check the cowl tag. GT must appear in the model field. Real XB GTs also have unique rear quarter window shapes. Why? Because number 11 reveals how one paint code made the car lethal. Number 11. The black paint was laced with lead and banned by 1980. The Interceptor's matte black finish contained enough lead to poison a small town. The production used black night paint, a custom mix from Dulux containing 38% lead chromate for UV resistance. This gave the car its signature flat, non-reflective look in the harsh Australian sun. But by 1980, lead-based automotive paints were banned nationwide due to health risks. Restorers today use modern ceramic coatings to mimic the effect without toxicity. The original paint also required a 72-hour curing time in a sealed tent to prevent dust adhesion. Original paint flakes test positive for lead under XRF guns. Most restored Interceptors use black satin, a safe approximation. The part nobody talks about. Number 10 exposes the car's real-world police use. Number 10, real Australian police used XB GTs as highway patrol cars. Long before Mac's real cops chased speeders in black XB GTs. From 1973 to 1976, the Victoria Police and NSA de Talons Highway Patrol used XB GT sedans as high-speed interceptors. These pursuit specials had 302 V8s heavy-duty brakes and spotlights, but no superchargers. They could hit 125 mph, making them the fastest police cars in the Southern Hemisphere. Several were retired and sold to the public, some ending up in Mad Max. Allegedly, one ex-cop car was used as Interceptor 1's donor. Ex-police XB GTs have unique VIN prefixes and lack rear seatbelts. Look for radio bracket holes under the dash. And if you think that's wild, Number 9 rewrites the origin story of the supercharger. Number 9, the supercharger was added last minute, after test screenings. The blower wasn't in the original design. It was added because audiences found the car too plain. Early test screenings in Melbourne showed viewers didn't perceive the Interceptor as threatening enough. George Miller ordered the supercharger installed just 3 weeks before final filming. The hood was cut by hand with a hacksaw, and the blower bolted through with steel plates. The modification took 36 hours straight, done by the art director and 2 mechanics in a Melbourne garage. It became the car's defining feature. The hood cut is asymmetrical, slightly larger on the driver's side. Perfect symmetry indicates a replica, but it gets weirder. Number 8 reveals the truth about the spinning wheels. Number 8, the wheels were static, glued to avoid blur. Those gleaming turbine-style wheels? They didn't spin on camera. They were locked in place. At high speeds, the 15-inch globe turbine wheels created a strobing effect under 24 FPS film. To keep them sharp in motion shots, the crew epoxied the wheels to the hubs for wide-angle chase scenes. For close-ups, they used real spinning wheels. The static trick was common in 1970s car films, but rarely discussed. Authentic tribute builds use globe turbines. Reproductions exist, but original sets have a unique spoken curvature. Here's the kicker. Number 7 uncovers how the car broke Australian transport laws. Number 7. It was registered as a farm vehicle to avoid inspections. To bypass strict roadworthiness laws, the Interceptor was legally classified as a tractor accessory. In 1977, Victoria required all film vehicles to pass safety inspections. Impossible for a modified door-welded death machine. The production registered it under a fake farming company as a mobile tool carrier. This exempted it from brake tests, lighting checks, and emissions. The ruse worked, until a local inspector spotted it filming and demanded paperwork. The crew produced forged farm invoices and escaped fines. Today, Australian Interceptor replicas must pass ADR. Most are registered as historic vehicles to ease compliance. Even more shocking, Number 6 reveals the car's secret weight. Number 6, it weighed 3,800 pounds, lighter than a modern Prius. Stripped of sound-deadening carpets and rear seats, the Interceptor tipped the scales at just 1720 kilos. Every ounce mattered in the desert heat. A stock XB GT weighed 1580 kilos. The Interceptor lost 120 kilos by removing glass, deleting the heater, and using aluminum bumpers. That's lighter than a 2024 Toyota Prius. The weight savings gave it a power-to-weight ratio rivaling a Porsche 911 of the era. Authentic builds avoid modern sound systems and AC, both add weight and ruin the raw aesthetic. The twist? Number 5 exposes how one color was so rare only 12 exist. Number 5. Only 12 were factory-painted polar white. The Interceptor's base car, the XB GT, was almost never white. Ford Australia offered polar white only on special order in 1973. Production records from the Broadmeadows plant show that just 12 XB GT sedans left the line in white, most for funeral directors or taxi fleets. The Interceptor was repainted black, but its donor was likely white. White GTs are now ultra rare. One sold in 2022 for $22,000 AUD. Real polar white cars have M35223 on the compliance plate. Beware of resprayed diamond white, a different code. And that's not all. Number 4 reveals the hidden fuel tank nobody noticed. Number 4, a second fuel tank was hidden in the trunk. Slung in the trunk was a 40-liter auxiliary tank, critical for desert runs. The Outback had no gas stations. The crew needed range. A military-spec aluminum tank was mounted behind the rear seat, plumbed into the main system with a toggle switch under the dash. It gave the Interceptor a 700-kilometer range, enough to cross Victoria non-stop. The tank was removed after filming but left mounting brackets. Replica builders often install hidden tanks with electric pumps. Original-style manual valves are rarer and more authentic. Why? Because number 3 uncovers the truth about the horn. Number 3. The horn was a wabiu air raid siren. That ear-splitting wail wasn't a car horn, it was a relic from the Blitz. The sound department wanted something primal and terrifying. They installed a 1940s British alert air raid siren powered by a 12V motor mounted behind the grille. It drew so much current it blew fuses during takes. The sound was later enhanced in post, but the bass tone is real. Authentic setups include a vintage siren with a hand crank backup. Modern replicas use electronic modules, but purists insist on the real wail. But there's a twist. Number 2 reveals how the car almost had a different name. Number 2? It was almost called the Pursuit Special. Before Interceptor, it had a name ripped straight from police radio codes. In early scripts, the car was referred to as the Pursuit Special, a nod to real Australian police terminology. But test audiences found it too generic. Interceptor was chosen for its sci-fi edge and global appeal. The name stuck, even though it's never spoken in the film. Fans coined it organically, and George Miller later embraced it. Original call sheets listed as Vehicle PS1. Collectors prize these as rare production artifacts. And now, the truth that changes everything. Number 1. The Final Chase. Was filmed without permission and shut down a highway. The film's iconic climax was shot illegally on a live public highway and nearly got the crew arrested. With no budget for road closures, George Miller sent the Interceptor roaring down Calder Highway near Bendigo at dawn. For 47 minutes, the crew filmed high-speed runs with no permits, no safety barriers, and no police escort. A real trucker nearly collided with the Interceptor during one take. The Victorian Road Authority fined the production $1,000, but allowed the footage to stand because it looked too good to cut. The incident forced Australia to create new film vehicle laws in 1979. The part nobody talks about? This rogue shoot is why the ending feels so visceral. It was real danger, not choreography. The stretch of road is now a pilgrimage site for fans. Look for the distinctive gum trees in the background. They're still there. This act of cinematic rebellion redefines the Interceptor, not just a prop, but a participant in its own legend. The Interceptor lives in the space between machine and myth, forged in junkyards, baptized in lead paint, and immortalized by desperation. So, which fact blew your mind? Was it the stolen supercharger, the farm registration, or the illegal highway chase? Drop your pick in the comments. We read everyone. If you loved this deep dive, check out our videos on the Death-Proof Charger's hidden roll cage or the Fury Road War Rig's real V8 secrets. Because in the wasteland, the car isn't just transportation, it's survival. Until next time, keep your foot down and your eyes on the horizon.